From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
Welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster podcast. This is your weekly podcast about consumption. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You find all of our old episodes, all of our new episodes, and all of the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. With me this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster podcast, and his name is Sean. And Sean, how the hell are you doing this afternoon?
John, the lioness rejoined her cub, and all is right in the jungle.
It sounds flippity. What have you been watching this week?
It is pretty flippity. I watched a couple things besides the thing we're going to talk about today. 2 documentaries, as I am wont to do. I'm going to start with the non-documentary. So I went back and watched, for some reason, was just on a whim, had a hair up my ass, something. I wanted to go back and watch Eastern Promises, and that's what I did. So Eastern Promises is Viggo Mortensen. Yeah, it's interesting. And Naomi Watts. And this is a David Cronenberg film. And basically the story is a young girl, very young, like 14, gives birth to a girl, a little baby, obviously, girl. And she dies during childbirth. And Naomi Watts is the maternity. Yes. Naomi Watts is the maternity nurse that delivers the baby. And now that the baby's like an orphan, essentially, she's trying to find next of kin who this girl is, how she's, related to someone, so she can contact them about this baby. And she gets a card. She finds a card in the girl's journal, but the journal's all in Russian. And she finds the card and it has this restaurant on it. So she goes to the restaurant and she talks to the owner, the old man who's at the restaurant, and he starts to develop a friendship. And basically he's involved in the Russian mob, and Viggo Mortensen is a driver for the mob boss, for this old Russian man, and all the shenanigans that he gets into. And for some reason, you're not quite sure, Viggo Mortensen has he's the Russian mob driver with the heart of gold. So the whole movie kind of revolves around that. I don't know. Have you seen Eastern Promises before?
Yes, but I don't remember.
It's been a while.
To be fair, everything you're telling me, I remember Viggo Mortensen, and past that, I really don't remember much of it.
I liked it. I mean, it's a Cronenberg movie, not like a body horror movie. Obviously, it's not that David Cronenberg, but I also like History of Violence, which is with Viggo Mortensen, and
I like
David
Viggo
Cronenberg.
Mortensen, so
yeah, he's okay. He's pretty good for the most part. He's really interesting because he's one of those people who didn't become a star until like their late 30s, early 40s, which is really different.
I think he's interesting because, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I know him becoming a star from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And that was was he only in 3 of those? That was at least 3 years where that's all you really saw him in. So that's all I really knew him from. And then History of Violence came out somewhere around that time. I don't remember if it was before or off cycle on those.
I think it would have been after.
Yeah, something like that. And that's when I kind of was like, oh, this guy could do things other than be long-haired guy with sword. That's cool. And I remember at one point I went on a short-lived Viggo Mortensen binge, but this was still I want to say this was still rental days, so it wasn't as easy as now where you could just hop on the internet and grab whatever,
Yeah.
So I would definitely not call myself a Viggo Mortensen expert, but I would say I lean more towards liking him than disliking him. So.
And who really can call themselves a Viggo Mortensen expert? Not me.
Peter Jackson? Cronenberg, maybe?
Yeah. Okay, you got me. So the other thing I watched, one of the documentaries I watched was a 1992 documentary called Hobo. And it is a documentary following Bear Grease the Hobo and his life riding the rails, mostly in the American Northwest, and his eventual run-ins with different people that he'd already met, other hobos that he had met. And he eventually he's trying to get back to his daughter and family. This is it's an actual documentary. This isn't fiction. It's nonfiction. And it's pretty interesting. They kind of talk about Bear Grease and other hobos that he runs into. They all have their own interesting little stories, and they sit around fires getting drunk and drinking beer or stuff out of flasks like hobos do. It's really interesting.
Spells his last name.
What's that?
Is it bear grease, like greasy hamburger?
It's
like
one name.
Bear grease?
Yeah.
Oh, is it like grease? Like
BEARGR. Yeah, grease. Bear grease.
I like it. That's like a fucking oiled up wrestler name. That's what it should be. So
yeah, and he's like, this is 92, so he's talking about how he was in Vietnam. You know, he's of that age, so it's you know, that's like 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. It'll be in the show notes if you're interested in seeing how hobos live. It's not a bad way to spend. I want to say like an hour and 20 minutes. And then
how
lastly,
does it pair with a hobo Christmas?
I don't know. I don't know how it would pair with Hobo with a shotgun either.
What about Night of the Bums?
How about bum fights?
Well, his name's Bear Grease. I hope there's a bum fight in there.
I don't know if he fights anybody. But then the last thing I watched was a movie called Search for Weng. And it's a documentary, obviously, on the Filipino little person actor known as Weng, who starred in a few movies in the 70s, early 80s, and most notably, probably a couple spoofs on James Bond movies called, one of them's called Your Height Only, and the other one is Agent 00. And he became really famous across the Philippines for being this little person that, you know, they always dubbed over his voice, or at least the movies that I've seen clips from. And there's quite a few clips in this movie of his acting. And the whole premise of the movie is this, I want to say he's an Australian like video store owner that is becomes so enamored with Weng, he needs to find out what happened to Weng or where Weng went. And so he goes to the Philippines. He starts to kind of network and try and find Weng. And he's been showing some of these movies around on the circuit or whatever. I don't know what you actually call it. But it gets into not only Weng, but then also how Ferdinand Marcos and Imelda Marcos were trying to entice American film producers and actors to come to the Philippines, because I guess they said, I don't know how true this is, but Imelda Marcos says that in the 80s, that the second largest film production in the world was in the Philippines, like second to California, second to Hollywood. So I don't know how true that is, but so they're trying to, they have all this footage of these.
Possible.
I guess, maybe. Yeah. They have all this footage of American stars that go over to the Philippines for this, like basically a film festival, this junket to try and get more people to buy Filipino films to distribute across the world or whatever. And I guess it didn't end up working very well. But one of the things that were an export from the Philippines because of this convention or this junket or whatever it was that Your Height Only, Agent 00 gets out into the world. Weng becomes this thing. And Weng got to be really popular. I want to say like near the beginning of the internet, especially probably the beginning of YouTube. I remember there was a song went viral by a group called the Chuds, and it was basically about Weng. I don't remember all the things, but it's in the movie.
Is BP in the group?
No, he's not. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think they're English. Yeah, I think they're American. But yeah, so that was an interesting doc. I think that might be available somewhere to stream, and if it is, it'll be in the show notes. But those are the three things that I got a chance to watch. John, what have you been watching?
So what have I been watching? So I'm kind of all over the place. I'm going to stick mainly to more documentary type stuff for the most part. I won't do just that. So there's a documentary on, I think it's on Amazon Prime is where I found it. You know that idiot in the wolf costume that used to go to Chiefs games and then got caught robbing banks? His nickname was Chiefsaholic. So they made a documentary about him. And I thought he was just some dumbass in a wolf mask that got caught robbing a bank like an idiot, which is factually true. But it turns out like this documentary, it's a pretty easy watch. It's only like an hour long, maybe a little bit more than that. This documentary kind of breaks down how he not only robbed a bank, he basically robbed several banks to fund his lifestyle of driving around and going to Chiefs games. So he was getting all these like front row seats and shit. And they get into a lot of people around, like a lot of Chiefs, like super fans and like, you know, your weekly tailgater types. The other, as a football fan, I say this with all due respect, other idiots who wear stupid costumes and go cheer for the Chiefs as if that makes them more of a fan than someone who just wears like a ball cap. I don't see the need to like dress up in costume to go to a game in general. if you're going and it's Star Wars night or something and you want to bring your lightsaber and like, wave that around, cool. I guess that makes sense. At least you're on theme, but I don't know. I'm not a Chiefs historian. I've talked about them on the show a couple times just because there's a bunch of documentaries out about them now. And, I'm a sucker for a sports doc. I've never heard anything that involves old white dude dressed up like Thor with like red and yellow theme or Wolfman or like that's not part of Chiefs lore as far as I know. But it is kind of funny seeing all these idiots like talk about this guy and build him up and just to have them like once the story turns and they start getting into what he actually did, be like, I mean, I'm not surprised. He was kind of a fucking asshole and all that type of stuff. So if you're at all interested in it, it's kind of a quick, easy watch. And it's definitely not the kind of watch that you're going to leave it feeling any kind of sympathy for the subject of the documentary. It does turn out part of what he was doing was trying to sustain his mother and his brother. I guess they live in a car or something. So as he's robbing banks, he is still having his mother live in a car, which is a whole different thing with it. But it's one of those stories that's like, this is somehow crazier and not than I expected it to be and not shocking at all. It's like equal parts, like this is crazy and like you're that dumbass that would actually go and do this. So worth giving a watch. I started watching Alien Earth, or Alien Earth as it's called more correctly. I'm about two, maybe 2.5 episodes in. I am enjoying it so far. I will say this point in, my biggest problem right now is I just haven't been in a mood for an alien movie, like story. So I started it hoping it would just kind of hook me, and it has in the sense that I like it, but it hasn't in the sense that it's maybe want to just sit on the couch and not go anywhere and just get through it yet. So I'll probably keep chomping at that for a little bit here. It looks great. It looks on par with Romulus, at least. Like, I don't think there's anything noticeably worse in the show, at least that I've seen so far. I like how aggro the xenomorphs seem to be so far. Like, it seems like they're just kind of strolling around and like fucking up whoever gets in their way, which I enjoy. The only thing I would say so far that if I'm going to criticize it right now, I'm finding the story to be needing more. Like, and again, I'm not very far into it, so take this with a grain of salt. So far, the parts of the show that I'm liking is whenever a xenomorph or some creature shows up and creates some kind of chaos, whatever's going on with the human characters, it's kind of got Godzilla problem. Like, you're here, but I really don't care that you're here yet. Like, just go be alien fodder for the time being. So, was this like 8 episodes or 10 episodes, something like that for the first season? I hope in the next episode or two, like I find something more interesting to kind of latch onto. Because if it's just carnage for 8-10 episodes, that's fine, and I'll watch that. I'm not going to complain too much about that, but that doesn't really scream we need a second season to me. So I'm assuming it gets a little more interesting as we go along. But you finished that, so you would know better than I would.
I feel like it picks up more after the second. I feel like I was kind of not bored, but it wasn't like, kind of like you're saying, it wasn't really grasping my full attention in the first couple episodes. There was so much stuff kind of flying around, and you to put the pieces together that it's like, what? Okay, huh? What? Okay, well, wait, what?
So yeah, that's cool looking, but now what? Like, give me more. So
yeah, I feel like it really picks up after that second episode.
And I've only heard good things about it. Like, not just you, but several other people have been bugging me to watch this show since it came on, which I don't really understand. Like, you're more chill about it. You're just like, you should watch this. I think you'll like it. And that's kind of it until now. But other people will be like, why haven't you watched Alien Earth yet? Why? I'm like, because I'm fucking busy, dude. Calm down. I'll get to it. So
welcome to Earth.
It's not going anywhere. Yeah. I got to watch Will Smith with punch an alien out first. But I do like it. Again, it looks great. I enjoy that. I need to try to watch it when it's, dark out, as opposed to sitting around watching it in daylight. I feel like that might help it, because I was watching it like 10 in the morning. I'm like, I just can't fucking do this right now. I need something not this, but such is life. I'm going to pivot to, I did watch 2 new comedy specials. I'm doing these because I will forget about them before the other thing that I watched that I can talk about. So Jim Gaffigan and Dave Chappelle both have new comedy specials out that have come out in the past few weeks. I feel like they're both a little lackluster considering the 2 people in question. For the Gaffigan one, that one's on YouTube. I think it's called the Bourbon Special or something like that, but it's pretty easy to find. It's I don't know if it's sponsored or hosted, whatever. It's at Old Forester's something. Like their branding's all over the thing. Like he's in what looks like a barrel room, but I don't think it's a barrel room. I think it's just like a backdrop behind him of barrels. I wasn't really looking that close because it's stand up. I don't feel like I need to stare at it the whole time. I can move around and do stuff, you know? But because it's Old Forester promotion or special or whatever the hell it is, the entire hour, every single bit somehow wraps around to bourbon, which as a bourbon fan, you would think be great. But after the first couple jokes, you almost hit a point you're like, yeah, what else you got? Like, come on. Like I've listened to, I feel like I've listened to pretty much every Gaffigan special because I do like him. I think he's generally pretty funny. But this one just felt like you're really stretching the premise out on this. Like you might want to mix some more, like, where's the Hot Pockets joke or something, you know? But again, it's free and it's on YouTube, so how much can you really complain? The Chappelle one is different because he's, in general, a comedian that I still respect him, but I find him to be one of the more entertaining and more genuinely, like, a comedian that actually will make me laugh out loud when I watch a special of his. It's like him and, like, maybe 2 or 3 other guys that will actually make me, you know, when I'm watching them. This one didn't do it. Yeah. This one didn't do it. He had a couple bits that were pretty entertaining, but I felt like with this one, he never quite got in a rhythm. He never quite started landing stuff. And it's weird. Like he almost feels like he's pivoting to like, I was a comedian and now I'm a public speaker. And I want to go as far to say he's lecturing because it's definitely not quite that. It's still stories being told through the lens of Dave Chappelle. But I mean, he hasn't done Killing Him Softly in like 20 years now. But if you're looking for like that Dave Chappelle, just like, you know, machine gunning joke after joke after joke, for me, this one wasn't it. It was fine. I'm not mad at it. It seems like every time that he releases a new special, there's a whole new group of people that come out of the woodworks that are like, get this person out of here, fuck him, whatever. It's not that. At least I don't think it's that. I'm sure someone's saying that. But I felt kind of let down by, like, I don't know. I guess maybe my expectations are too high, but I wasn't overly impressed with this one. So it's on Netflix. It's easy to get to. Again, it's also only about an hour long. If you like Chappelle, check it out. If you don't like Chappelle, or if you're not a big Chappelle fan, this might be the one that you want to skip. You fan of either of them? I don't. Outside of a couple people, I don't really talk much about comedy with you. Well, it's stand-up comedy. Anyway.
I do not like Jim Gaffigan. At least I haven't liked his older stuff, and maybe I just never gave it a chance. Like Hot Pockets really turned me off a lot. That's
fair. No, that's very fair. Especially considering when that was out, because it was on Comedy Central like fucking constantly.
So. Right. Yeah, and I think with Chappelle, I haven't seen maybe the last like 2 or 3 of his specials, so I don't know. I know that there's like there's always outrage about something that he says.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know any of the discourse because I just haven't watched any of his stuff, or I don't really pay much attention to it, because if I want to form my own opinion. You know, I don't want other people to tell me what they think, and then that's my opinion. Like, I'd rather just see it, and I just haven't really been interested in watching much of his stuff.
With Chappelle especially, that's why I try to watch his pretty close to when they come out. Yeah. Try to get ahead of that. I know you just said, like, you want to form your own opinion. The last one that he did, the big, like, uproar was because he has it's more of a story than a bit. Like, it actually is a narrative story with a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
But it's about a person who's trans, and the whole backlash was basically people claiming he's anti-trans. However, I watched it, I listened to it, and I enjoyed that special. And I think the people who are saying that, a lot of times, I mean, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but it really felt like to me, like, did you actually listen to what he said, or are you just picking up clip notes and deciding that you're pissed off at him? You know, it's kind of like the whole, like, Catholics are mad at the movie Dogma thing, even though they never saw it. Kind of like that. Like, they're just assuming that he's bashing someone, which if you go listen to it, actually hear the words that he's saying, that's not what I got out of it. Maybe I'm completely wrong. That's very plausible, but it felt very much so like misplaced anger to me.
Yeah. I mean, people hearing what other people have to say, and then they take it as gospel and they get upset. Yeah. Like I said, I don't have a comment on it because I haven't seen it, but that sounds, I mean,
Sounds plausible.
I don't disbelieve any. I don't disbelieve any of that in today's landscape.
But that's all I got for this week. I mean, anything next week will be slightly less new, hopefully. Probably, I don't know. We'll see. Got a few days to get to that. So, want to take a break and come back and finish this Quentin Tarantino joint?
Yeah, let's take a break and come back and finish this Quentin Tarantino joint.
Joint? Well, that sounds flippity. We'll be right back.
It is pretty flippity.
Hey, if you love unpredictable conversations, weird hobbies, TV obsessions, music rabbit holes, and all the stuff you didn't even know you cared about, you've got to check out WTF Are You Doing? That's the podcast where hosts Hearn Dizzle and E. Biddy just talk about whatever the f*** they're into. One week it's reality shows. The next it's ranking fast food mascots. And sometimes it's just pure creative chaos. You can check them out and all the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com.
Okay, so we are back, and as promised last week, we're going to follow up on Kill Bill Volume 1, and we're going to roll right the fuck into Kill Bill Volume 2. Rarely do we follow up a sequel this quickly, but I don't know if this is a sequel, more of a continuation, whatever, we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're starting with the third-party review. This week, it comes from Mary, who is on Letterboxd. Mary gives Kill Bill Volume 2 5 stars and a heart. And Mary says, I'm so glad she killed Bill.
Spoilers. Jeez.
Right. I mean, spoilers, yes, but I feel like it's kind of implied by the title. Maybe. So, Sean, now that we know how this movie ends, you want to tell us what this movie is about?
Yeah, so for that, I go over to imdb.com and I type in the words Kill Bill Vol 2, and that brings up a movie from 2004. Gets an R rating. It's 2 hours and 17 minutes, which I feel like is longer than the last one by about 20 minutes, roughly. This gets...
I'm going to check now.
Oh, cool. It gets an 8.0 out of 10 with 858,000 ratings. Another one on the popularity scale. This one, another one. It's at 862 from some number, and it's up 102 spots from some other number. Maybe if I knew how to do math, we could figure that out. So from there, we're going to read whatever this thing is, this little blurb at the top, because I wouldn't put it at the top if it wasn't supposed to be read. First, it says, the bride continues her quest of vengeance against her former boss and lover Bill, the reclusive bouncer Bud, and the treacherous one-eyed Ellie. And if we scroll on down to the storyline, this one comes care of Miramax again. It says, having already crossed 2 names from her death list, the bride resumes her quest for justice, taking aim at Bud and Ellie Driver, the only survivors from the squad of assassins who betrayed her 4 years earlier. It's all leading up to the ultimate confrontation with Bill, the bride's former master, and the man who ordered her execution.
To answer your question, yes, this movie is longer. Volume 1 is 1 hour and 51 minutes. This is 2 hours and 17 minutes. So what is that, give or take 22-ish minutes longer?
That's almost 30 minutes.
Yeah. So,
God damn.
I know a lot of these are the same as last week, but is there anyone in this particular volume that you would like to point out that we didn't talk about last week, or maybe rehash?
Well, I'll rehash. This has Uma Thurman as the bride. She was obviously in Kill Bill 1 and 2, Pulp Fiction, Batman and Robin, The Avengers, not that Avengers, and most recently, as I said last week, in Dexter, Resurrection. We've got David Carradine, who plays Bill.
Being in Batman and Robin.
Yeah, she was Poison Ivy. We got
to cover that movie at some point. That movie is so bonkers.
Okay, if we must. We've got David Carradine, who plays Bill. He was in Death Race 2000. He was in Death Race 2000. Kung Fu, Q, the Winged Serpent, Lone Wolf McQuaid, and tons of garbagey movies. We have Michael Madsen, who plays Bud. He has been in The Hateful Eight, Reservoir Dogs, Species, The Doors, Thelma and Louise, and of course, as mentioned last week, one of John's favorites, Monster Mash. And we have Daryl Hannah this time. We had Michael Parks up there last time he was in the movie for like 10 seconds, but we have Daryl Hannah in this, and at this time, she's got a much larger role than she had last movie. She plays Ellie Driver. She was in Splash, Roxanne, Addams Family Reunion as Morticia. Did not know that. Grumpy and Grumpier Old Men, both movies. We also have, I'll also mention, Michael Parks in a different role And this time around, we add in Bo Svensson, Samuel L. Jackson, and Sid Haig in very, very, very small roles.
And Christopher Nelson.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in this movie, kind of like last movie.
And lots of people just lurking around in backgrounds and weird places. Out of
There's
focus.
a lot of that, but there's a lot of people too. Like Gordon, what's his name? Gordon Liu, I think it is, or Liu. He plays Pai Mei in the Gordon Liu. He plays Pai Mei in this, and he was
one of the
lead of the Crazy 80. He was like the lead guy.
Yeah,
I can't think of his name now. Head honcho or whatever the fuck his name was. So yeah, you see a lot of that in this, where you'll see someone who was maybe in there for a bit role in the first movie pop back up in this one, which is, I think it's cool because for the most part, they're not immediately recognizable as those. Like Michael Parks is a good example. Like he plays Earl McGraw in the first movie.
Yeah.
I think they pop up for a second because him and his kid or James or whatever the other McGraw is.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say they might be there for a minute in the beginning of this, but when he shows up as the, I guess he's a pimp in the second half of the movie or something along those lines, he looks unrecognizable from Earl McGraw. Maybe not unrecognizable from Michael Parks, but radically different from his other character. So you mentioned this is a first watch for you, right?
It is indeed.
So coming fresh off the heels of part 1 or volume 1, did that change expectations, raise them, lower them? Did you go into how did you go into this one, seeing as it was a first time for you?
I feel like I probably went into it just open and willing to just watch it. I expected more of the same from the first movie, kind of thematically the same, maybe not so much set pieces. When you look at the cast list, like it has a lot of Japanese actors in the in the top cast on IMDb. So looking at that, I'm kind of thinking, oh, okay, there's going to be more in Japan. You know, it's going to be kind of more of the same that we had from the first movie. And mind blown. Expectations did not equal reality. I mean, right off the bat from when this movie starts.
Well, I think that's a good place to pivot into likes, because I have seen this before. And I think one of my favorite things about this movie is, although it's still on a much larger scale than what he did before Kill Bill, this volume feels more like a Tarantino movie than what Kill Bill Volume 1 does. This one relies more on clever dialogue, good camera work, and quite frankly, putting people in really dark, weird, effed up situations and seeing how they deal with it, where there's some of that in the first volume, but it's so much heavier on the blood splatter, the action, those sequences and whatnot. I don't want to say he lost his way, because I don't think that's a fair statement either. But comparing 1 to 2, I feel like 2 feels like a Tarantino movie, where 1 has hints of it, but it's not nearly on the same level as what this one is, just as that overall style of film.
Watching this one, I feel like the immediate thought in my head was, how are these 2 movies connected? Because they're so stylistically different. And it almost, it feels like if you were to watch this as the whole bloody affair, like the one movie straight through, it just seems like it would be so jarring, especially from the end of the first one into this one.
It actually makes me curious to watch the whole bloody affair to see what I feel like there's got to be something in that interlude, because I've heard the intro where she's driving, and I think it's in black and white when she's driving and basically recapping the first movie. I've heard that's not there. But I would assume you'd have to put something in interlude to tie them together a little bit better. Or maybe it just goes right to, maybe I'm forgetting something else here, but maybe it just goes right to Bill and Bud in front of the trailer talking. I don't remember. I don't know. I haven't seen the whole bloody affair. But it kind of makes me curious to see it, just to see how they tied the 2 together.
Yeah, like how they were able to stitch the 2 to make it coherent, because I think at the end of the first one, she's still in Japan, right? That's after she kills Lucy Liu.
She's on the plane.
She's on the plane.
Out her hit list. Yeah.
All right. So that's okay. You've jogged my memory. It's only been a week. How sad is that? Yeah. I mean, but it still opens
we'll
up.
Have that conversation. We'll have that problem next week when we talk about a movie and what have you been watching, I'm sure.
But it feels like this one, they just dive right in. It's like you're in the middle, because I feel like it starts, I could be wrong, but I feel like this movie starts either with Bud and Bill at the trailer or at the church in black and white.
I think you're right. I think it's the church.
lay out. Yeah.
I think it's
And then
the
it's
church. They kind of
the trailer
reset
scene.
it, and then
Right.
it's and I'm the one who says that he likes this movie. I should know this shit.
But it's just like, it's so jarring to go from Oranishi, the flight on the plane, and then the black and white scene in the church. So I don't know, belaboring the point here, beating a dead horse, etc., etc.
I also really like Michael Madsen in this movie, and I know he's one of those. Michael Madsen, for those who don't know Michael Madsen, you probably, if you don't know him by name, you probably know him from this movie or Reservoir Dogs. That's maybe Species. But he's kind of one of those, like, was one of those lifelong character actors who just kind of shows up and can, like, steal the show. Rough, ornery SOB. And he plays it so well in this. And it almost makes you wonder, because all the other members of the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad, I think that's what they were called, seem to be doing okay. Like, they're not living in a, like, podunk trailer in the middle of El Paso and, like, basically getting fired from the titty bar they work at.
Right.
Like, what happened to Bud, where, like, I'd almost want to see the story as to what, like, we're not going to get it now for sure, but
yeah,
I'd almost like to see the story just of Bud and, like, how he went from, like, Assassination Squad to dirtbag in a trailer.
That would be a really good, even like a fan film or something. Because I feel like, Pulp Fiction is Vincent Vega is John Travolta, and Madsen plays the Vega brother in Reservoir Dogs. It would be like, I know they were always talking about, like, oh, there's going to be this Pulp Fiction like side
Vega
story about
thing.
Which will not happen now. But that's another idea. What you just brought up is a cool idea. But I really enjoy Michael Madsen in this movie as Bud. He has a lot of just really funny lines. The whole, like, he tells Bill that he sold his Hanzo sword, and he's like, "You hawked your Hanzo sword?" Like, I just sold it to a pawn shop. He's just like this really.
And he goes, "It was priceless." He goes, "No, in El Paso, I got $250 for it," or something like that. So
Tarantino really does a much better job in the second half, in the second volume of, like you said earlier, this feels like a Tarantino movie. It has the dialogue, it has the long sweeping camera angles. There is action. There's still fighting, but it feels so much more grounded and maybe not necessarily realistic, but much more realistic than we saw in volume 1 for sure.
It feels more like his style. It feels like we're getting back to exaggerated but moderately plausible things that could happen, at some point. The other thing we haven't mentioned with Bud, it's spoilers for this 20-year-old movie at this point, he's also the only one who basically gets her. Like, he makes a couple dumb decisions because he doesn't end the movie when he could have ended the movie, but he's the only one that puts her on her ass and basically could keep her on her ass if he chose to. He chose to be a dickhead and torture her, which came back to, bite him quite literally, even though that wasn't her doing. Right. But I think that's an interesting thing. Like, he's almost portrayed as the bumpkin, the loser, the outcast of the group, in the sense that he's off in a trailer. But he's also the only one who gets the upper hand on her through this entire movie, like this entire 8-hour thing. And the way he does, like, I still remember, again, this is major spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it first. 3, 2, 1. When she opens that door and he unloads that rock salt in her chest with a shotgun, I remember being in the theater and audibly going, "Oh, holy shit." Like, I did not expect that at all. Totally caught me off guard. So that's, one of the things I love about this particular movie, but about his character, the last person you expect to do that is the one who basically puts her on her ass, and I think that's kind of cool.
I just feel like the whole arc, the whole play between those characters, because they all have history, the bride and Michael Madsen and Daryl Hannah and obviously Bill all have this history. And it's I don't know, the way that this movie's put together, it feels like they don't feel like they're strangers. They feel like they might not like each other, but they all have history and they kind of understand each other. They have an understanding. And Madsen as Bud is like, we're, maybe we deserve it. Maybe we deserve to die. She's, I've never seen someone want to come back with that much revenge or whatever. But maybe she's got to die too. I think it's funny that he wears that fucking cowboy hat. And I read that Tarantino hated it, that Michael Madsen shows up on set with this cowboy hat on, and he refused to not wear it during like one of the scenes or whatever. So Tarantino did a rewrite and made it so he had to take the hat off. That he takes the hat off somewhere in the movie.
Yeah, when he gets fired from the titty bar, basically. They basically call him out for wearing the hat. It's great.
Right.
So while we're on the high level stuff, Daryl Hannah. We didn't talk about her a ton in the last movie. We talked about her a little bit, specifically the hospital scene. She's every bit as sinister as anyone in this movie. Like, she is so like dark and twisted and like big problem, small package in this. It's unforgettable. Like, she's amazing in this role.
I think she steals the show in this movie. Like, Uma Thurman is great in this movie, but I feel like Daryl Hannah is, for as little as she has.
I would have said Michael Madsen, but I won't argue you about Daryl Hannah either. I think she's great too. So
I feel with how little Daryl Hannah has to work with in the movie, not as in like her dialogue or anything she has to do in the movie, but with how little she's in it, that she's like a scene stealer every time she's in it. And when I was watching this, I'm like, how did it? I looked, she has a few roles where it looks like they may be some kind of villain character that's not a Disney style villain, but it's like, how did people not recognize from this performance that she could be, because I always think of Daryl Hannah as being like Madsen from Splash, or isn't she in like Steel Magnolias or some shit, like something.
She's out in this kind of movie generally.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like, why wasn't she used more in these movies? And she was like as younger than we are now, maybe about your age. And I mean, she looks great. She definitely carries it.
Sure. Her role, like what she does in this movie, so much of it is as much body language as it is anything else. The way she moves through scenes, the way when she does get in fights, the way she fights, the way she fucking stares down Bud while she's chewing on that like chunk of ice in the margarita glass with the one eye. It's just like, this woman's terrifying. I have no reason to be afraid of her because I'm just watching in my house, but this woman is terrifying.
And then my favorite scene, I would say, from like start to finish, and it kind of happens in the same way that I mentioned last week with the bride trying to will herself to move her toe. It's kind of the same thing in this when she gets buried under the ground for, of course, how else do you get buried? She gets buried in the coffin by Bud, and she's trying to remember like the 3-inch punch. Like, she has this whole flashback with Pai Mei, and the whole Pai Mei scene is great. Like that whole storyline that they tell, really everything. My favorite segment portion of this movie is when the training with Pai Mei starts up until she escapes from the coffin and she goes into that diner. She's just like, could I have a glass of water? And she's just like,
I thought you were going to say when Pai Mei bonks her on the head with his cane or whatever.
No, that whole thing is great. So, I like that. Yeah. I love that whole scene, that whole situation with Pai Mei, and when you can, you're reading the subtitles and stuff and you're reading what they're actually saying. And it's, I don't know. I thought that was really funny. The
Pai Mei stuff is great. And you can make the argument that this entire, like, both these films are basically a big homage to a lot of stuff. But the Pai Mei scene specifically, like, okay, this guy gets this character. This guy obviously grew up watching this type of stuff. Like, I'm not trying to compare myself to Quentin Tarantino because I don't want to, but you ever see something get put on screen, you're like, okay, this guy is cut from the same cloth as me on this particular subject. I understand where he's coming from for sure. So, like, especially growing up watching that stuff, seeing it in the big screen in a big movie all of a sudden in a theater, it felt like a little moment of some kind. So yeah, the Pai Mei stuff's great.
I think the guy who plays Pai Mei was actually in some Shaw Brothers stuff in the 70s.
He was. Yeah, he was.
So, yeah, I mean,
he played Pai Mei I don't think he played him every time, but he played Pai Mei several times in the Shaw Brothers movies. So
he totally obviously gets it.
Yeah.
He knows what they're going for here.
We could keep loving on this movie if you want, but do you have negatives that you want to talk with on this one?
The only negative that I really had, like, I sat watching this movie just enjoying the shit out of it, which is really...
I hate when that happens.
I really just wanted to hate this fucking movie. No, I mean, just watching the first one and just only seeing it a few times. I've only seen the first one a few times. And I don't even know why I watched it more than once, because I really, like, at first I enjoyed that one, I think, and I felt like it was more of people telling me that I should like it, so I just kind of liked it. But I always had that in the back of my mind, all the stuff that we criticized about it last week. Watching this one, I really enjoyed it, but the thing that the only thing I could even count as a dislike is what we already talked about, is how jarring that first movie breaks into the second, or I'm sorry, the first volume breaks into the second volume, and they just feel like totally different movies. And like you said, I mean, I'd love to see how the whole bloody affair turns out and how they kind of junction those things together to make it even seem palatable. Like, I don't know how they could do it without it still being jarring. It feels like two totally separate movies, and that almost makes me think like maybe number one, they were right to break this into two, but was it the plan all along to do it as two? And Tarantino's just like, no, I didn't want them to do it as two, and they did.
The plan all along was to do it as one, and supposedly this cut of the whole bloody affair that's out, he's had since this movie came out, and I guess he's shown it at a handful of like private film festivals and stuff like that, but it's only just been released, I guess, mainstream wise this year or last year at this point. I agree with you though, that the tonal change would, I actually don't mind the tonal change, and I'm going to say why in a second, but if I'm going to say it as anything as a major negative in this, it's that, because it does feel, the characters make it feel like it's attached to the first movie, but the tone, the style, and basically everything that happens in the film that isn't some kind of flashback from the first movie saying, hey, remember this happened?
Yeah.
Feels like something totally different. That's actually the biggest reason why I love this one compared to the first one, is because of everything I just said. And this one too, like, I might have said this last week, I don't remember off the top of my head right now, but the first one got so big and popular, and it hit that thing like Scream, where all of a sudden everyone thought they were a fan of kung fu films, or they thought this was like the best action film ever. And there's certain people you can make that if they say that, like, I'll listen to your argument, but when it's like, you know, the dumb jock that you don't want to talk to in the first place, who's like, oh, you're wearing a kung fu shirt, whatever that might be, I'm going to talk to you about it. Just got so overkilled. And when this one came out, it was only a year later. I remember there was some hype around it because it's a Tarantino movie, but like, I feel like everything kind of died off with it within the first week or two. Like, I don't remember this one having, if anything, I feel like it brought back the excitement from Kill Bill Volume 1 and made that more popular again, as opposed to people even paying attention to Volume 2. And you're not the first person who's told me, like, I never watched Volume 2 for any number of reasons. So that didn't shock me. But again, if you haven't noticed, I really feel like it's the dramatically stronger film of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. According to IMDb, Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair has a 2006 day or, year on it. So I wasn't sure if it was ever released that way, but I guess it's only in theaters for the moment that way. It's not like been a digital release or a DVD release as the combined thing. So curious.
Yeah, I'm not still sure I want to sit in the theater for that long.
4 hours.
Just because, well, it's not that I'm opposed to, like, I know there's an intermission like built into it, but I'd rather intermission in my basement and like walk around here or something than, just it doesn't sound appealing to me. Yeah, I'll take a dump in my toilet. I don't want to take a dump in a theater toilet or a theater chair. So we haven't even talked much about Bill or David Carradine in this, and I feel like that's kind of a important character. I mean, the movie's named, half of the movie is named after him. Did David Carradine, I don't know if expectations is the right word, but did he live up to what you were expecting out of the big finale?
I would say maybe not the big finale, but David Carradine, the actor. This is, I haven't seen him in a ton of things. Like, I've seen him in some stuff. I've probably seen him in half a dozen movies, a dozen. I don't really like David Carradine as an actor, so that's pretty much why I have never watched most of his stuff, because I just don't care to watch him. I will say this movie redeemed David Carradine to me and showed me that, oh shit, he's actually a pretty decent actor. Like, he's pretty charismatic. He can carry a scene. Like, there would be a reason that someone would watch this. Before this, I wouldn't, I don't want to be so rude as to say, like, I wouldn't piss on him if he was on fire, but like,
he might get off on that.
Yeah, well, he's dead, so I don't know if he's going to get off on much, but may have. But yeah, I mean, before this movie, I was like, ugh. And even in the first part, David Carradine being in the movie.
Little.
He is, but it was a turnoff, like an instant turnoff that he was in the movie. And it's almost criminal that I didn't see this when it came out because he is so good in this movie. Like he actually comes across as charismatic, which I didn't think that David Carradine could ever do. So maybe it's the writing. I don't know what it is, but it's like, oh, he's actually really good in this movie.
Yeah, I like him in this movie a lot as well. I do. Like, a lot of people criticize this movie for the big final confrontation because it's more of a dialogue confrontation. Yeah. Okay, one, I love that they subverted expectations, and instead of having another House of Blue Leaves that went on for 20 minutes or something like that, I love that this fight is done within like 30 seconds. I think that's great. And I don't want to exactly spoil how it happens if you haven't seen it, but it very much so subverts expectations. And I can see how people might be turned off by that. Like, especially after the first movie, you might want more of an actual fight. But the build up to that moment, the fact that she sees that her kid's still there, they have that moment, they watch Shogun Assassin, which I'm sure we both love. We'll link that in the show notes, I'm sure, because we've already covered that. And then basically when she puts her to bed, right to when he shoots her with that truth serum bullshit dart or whatever they made up for the movie.
Yeah.
And he gets like cheesy supervillain for a little bit there, but then he comes back down and becomes charismatic bad guy again. And you kind of get back on track to what this buildup is leading to. And then it's just done in a flash. I'm like, it's weird. Like I'm pretty sure the first time I saw him, like, that's it was kind of my first thought.
Yeah.
But over the years, like, and I've watched this movie a bunch of times, like it's kind of one of those, like, if I watch one, I'm probably going to watch two in short order after it, just cause over the years, like as I've watched it a couple times and seen it again, I love the ending more and more because it's so drawn out, but so quick and final. And I know they've like talked about making a third movie over it feels like every couple years we're like, oh, Kill Bill Volume 3, it's going to be your kid, or it's going to be whatever. I feel like this movie does a really good job because of how they chose to end it in such a dialogue heavy way of tying up any real loose ends that I had questions about. I feel like they do a good job of just sewing it all up and then just putting a pin in it and saying, this is the end of the story. And I'm very comfortable with that.
It seems like the Tarantino MO is that every couple of years there's going to be a sequel, or there's going to be a part 2, or there's going to be a follow-up to some other thing. Usually from him. I don't think he generally says much about that, but it always seems that seems so, like, I don't know, on par or whatever with
I'm
the
kind of
Tarantino
surprised
movie.
It hasn't come up that, and I love this movie too, but I'm surprised it hasn't come up with like Django or something, because that movie, he does live and he does go like right off into the sunset. That would be of the Tarantino films, that would be the most logical movie to make a sequel to, just from the story. I mean, you couldn't really do it. I guess you could, but I wouldn't do it with Inglourious Bastards. That would be really fucking weird. It seems like that would be the one to, and thankfully I haven't heard that, or at least I don't remember hearing that anytime.
Not yet.
But I'm not going to act like I wouldn't go watch a Kill Bill Volume 3 or Kill Bill 2 or however he decides to name it if he does it. But I don't want it. Like, I'm perfectly content with because of how Volume 2 covers, basically checks all the boxes off of all the questions that you're left with in Volume 1. At least I'm not thinking of any, I can't think of any big lingering thing between the two of them. I don't ever feel like there's a need for more of these characters. Aside from my, dream scenario where we find out what happened to Bud between all this. So
no, this movie does such a great job of tying all the loose ends that, like you said, it doesn't feel like there needs to be another one, unless of course they did a Bud side story, but I don't see that happening now.
No, especially not. I mean, Madsen hadn't been in good health you look at him in Monster Mash, he looks like shit.
I'd rather not. That means I have to watch that again.
Sorry. Good, bad, indifferent. Do you have anything else you want to add on to this? Anything you want to tack in with it?
No, I'm good to go for some hot dogs, man. I'm getting hungry.
Well, before we fire up the grill, I did put a quick poll up today just asking point blank and we'll get to our opinion on this. I think it's pretty obvious at this point. Question was just simple. Do you prefer Kill Bill Volume 1 or Volume 2? I actually expected Volume 1 to kind of blow this out of the water, and it went the other way. Kill Bill Volume 2 won it 75% to 25%, with about 25-ish people voting. 24, I guess it was an even number. I was kind of pleasantly surprised by that. And I was expecting
John,
people to comment on it.
I told you we have the smartest listeners in the universe, and you were like, no.
So we'll wrap around to that. We'll finish up with that, but let's fire up the grill and talk end of this one first, and then we'll conclude the Kill Bill saga.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
Go ahead and lead us off.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to
week.
lead us off last week.
Oh, okay. Then I'll lead us. I don't know. You would know better than me. All right. So I'll lead us off. This movie is great. I actually think the reason why I don't call this my favorite Tarantino movie is I actually feel like it's dragged down a little bit by Volume 1. That's how much more I like this one. So it's a full hot dog all day. I like the characters in. I think it's shot beautifully. The music's great in it, which I at least expect from a Tarantino movie. I have no major negatives with it. If the only thing I can complain about is how different it is from the first one. On the one hand, it's weird if I'm assuming if you try to watch them like in this long one movie cut, but at the same time, it being so jarringly different is also why I like this one so much more than the first one. So take that for what it's worth. This movie made me like Uma Thurman. This movie made me respect David Carradine as well as several other actors. And it's littered with people who I really enjoy seeing in film, as most Tarantino movies are. Many of them are dead now, but it's a full hot dog all day.
Whose hot dog is this, huh? Is it yours?
So for me, I want to say, I don't want to say, but I do want to say, this is what I expected. This is what I wanted from the first movie. Volume 2 is so less stylized, but still very stylized at the same time. It's more heavy on the story. The fight scenes are more exciting. Like, they might not be as explosive and as bloody and as whatever, but I feel like everything from the fights, at least, are more exciting. The dialogue is better. It feels like a Quentin Tarantino movie. You get the kind of patented dialogue that you expect, or at least the banter back and forth from characters. I think of a scene like the pregnancy test scene at the end, where an assassin comes to kill Beatrix Kiddo, aka the bride, and she has her like show her the pregnancy test and read it off and make sure that, you know, oh no, I'm pregnant. Really, look at my test. Here's the instructions. Just a great scene. The characters feel like real characters. They don't feel like one-dimensional comic book heroes and villains like they did in the first movie. Kill Bill Volume 2 is, like I said, what I want when I watch a Tarantino movie. David Carradine's actually likable in the movie, which I thought was impossible. It's a crime that Kill Bill was ever split into two movies, but how they would put them together now at this point, yeah, maybe we'll see. It feels like a crime that they were split into two movies. It makes me angry for myself that I never watched this, that I just like bypassed it because I didn't like the first one very much. Kill Bill Volume 2 is the full hot dog. If you were like me and you haven't seen it, you should go see it. If you haven't seen either of them, I don't know, maybe go see The Whole Bloody Affair. Check back in with us. Let us know how it was. But I would give this a full hot dog, like you said, all day, every day.
So we already answered which of the two we like, just in how he said. So I'm not going to rehash that again. But I do have a question for you, because I noticed it this time and I never noticed it before.
Yeah.
So they bury the bride, put her in the grave with polo shorts. I noticed this time when they throw her in the dirt and you can see the tombstone, you can also see Paula Shorts and her coffin and her corpse. So 2 questions. 1, why not throw her on top of the bride? Because if you put her on top of the bride, 1, you don't have to hide a second body. And 2, she's got to go through 3 pieces of wood then with her punchy shit and a corpse, you know? So that would have been interesting. But if they're not going to put her there, where did Paula Shorts end up?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I thought initially seeing that, I was like, oh, they're going to put her in that same casket and they're going to use that casket.
That would have been fucked up too. But yeah.
Well, no, I didn't mean, I didn't necessarily mean with the corpse, the previous owner of that grave, but just maybe the previous owner of that coffin. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Pine box. Got it. Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I never noticed her before, but she's all green and rotted and
right.
I'm like, oh, how have I not seen that in all these years?
Yeah, I'll twist it up.
So with that in mind, we ask you, the audience, what did they do with Paula Schwartz? Where is she now? Why didn't they just throw her on top of the bride? let us know. Send us comments on this episode. Send it on Facebook or Instagram, Blue Sky, whichever your poison is. You can find us there. We're at Dewey Pod Monster all over the place, except Blue Sky, where we're at Crap Town. You'll see links for this, all kinds of good stuff. You can also find this and all our other episodes at crap.town. That's our site. If you'd like to leave us feedback there, you can ask us what you would like to hear us talk about. Whatever you want to do, that's the place to do it. Best place to do it. Please do head over to yourunpodcast.com. You can find all of our old, new, and whatever episodes there, as well as all the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network. Last and certainly not least, we are going to be doing a movie this month at Batch Brewing, as we tend to do. We're going to be showing the movie Death Spa. That episode will be in the show notes as well. We did that 2023, 24, something 23.
Something like that. 20, I don't know.
Oh, in the past.
This decade. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to be showing that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Batch Brewing, January 22nd. Come out, have a beer with us, and we'll watch a movie that will get you all sweaty and make you not want to go to the gym. Sean, what am I forgetting?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you like any of the things that we talked about, you can find them in the show notes. Most of that stuff's free. I would say the last couple weeks, the featured movie probably hasn't been free because it's not really something that's easy to find for free for streaming. But most of those movies are free. And I don't know if there's any other shows in the known universe that show or that have links to this many free things for you to watch. There may be a few things in there, though, just a disclaimer, that are not free. And they'll say Amazon next to those. Those are affiliate links. If you click those links, you buy some other stuff from Amazon. We get a small cut. That's a great way to help the show. Other than that, another great way to help the show is to tell a friend or an enemy maybe that, hey, I heard you like that movie. These guys, they talk about movies. They probably hated it. And you should go listen to them. So you can go do that. If you want to also find me on social media, I'm exclusively on Blue Sky at internalbleeding.crap.town. I post stupid clips of stupid movies that I think are pretty funny. And you might think they're funny too. And, worst case scenario, 6 months from now, you'll look and say, oh, I follow that guy because he posted something. Unfollow. John, back to you.
Sounds flippity, my brother. Have yourself a great week. We'll be back next week. I don't even know what we're doing next week yet, but we'll do it.
We had 2 movies in a row that we knew about. I mean, it's insane to think that we know what we're going to do next week.
Uncharted territory for us outside of a couple months.
Oh, the Uncharted movie. Got it.
You know what? We haven't talked about that. Maybe we'll talk. I hope we don't talk about that.
I hope we don't.
Until then, swill up, Butthorns. We'll talk to you next week.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
You can also find this episode and all our other. You can also find this episode and all our other. God damn it, John! I got cotton mouth there for a second. Not like Oren Ishii.